You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
They said the truth was buried deep in files they tried to burn. David's on the mic now, it's the people's turn. From shadow men in black to creatures in the mist, he's cracking open secrets that the government dismissed. Spooky lights above us, he's tracking every blink. Aliens, cryptids, yeah, he's making you think. With a journal full of clues and a wild-eyed hunch, he's talking ghost towns, lost time, Bigfoot's lunch. Old Dayvid don't know, but he's looking for the code on a long dark road where the weird ones go. Mics stay hot when the stories unfold, digging through the static for the truth untold. From pyramids on Mars to sounds in the night, he's chasing after whispers just beyond the light. Tinfoil hat, nah, it's a crown for the bold. Turn the dial up, these tales don't grow old.
Hey, it's David from Down the Rabbit Hole, and this is episode 5 of Dayvid Don't Know. Today I'm going to be joined by Joe Gelinas. He is the host of Tales, Trails, and Taverns, which is a great podcast. I highly recommend it. I listen to it myself. I love the stories he tells. Him and Rob, his co-host, do a great job. So definitely check it out. All right, I have a story to tell. It is about a little known folklore here in San Antonio. And it goes like this. I picked up this lady with her baby. She must have been in her early 40s. She had a baby with her. And started talking to me about stuff. And so I asked her if she had any paranormal stuff to talk about, which she did. And it goes like this. Told me not to judge her. So I said, I don't judge. Tell me whatever you need to tell me. And she says, well, I used to sell drugs. I used to do this. I used to do that. Got in a little trouble with the law. But don't judge me. Now, I believe in God, she says. I pray to God. And when I pray to God, sometimes the things I pray for happen. And sometimes they don't. And when they do happen, it takes a while, right? But then she said, but if I pray to the Santa Muerte, I get what I want immediately. What is the Santa Muerte? roughly translates to the Saint Death, but it is a dark force, shall we say. It's something that growing up Hispanic, you're told not to mess with because it has darkness. It's got dark principles. It will take something from you if you do not offer something to it. So you cannot be dealing with this with a high level of ignorance, because if you don't know what you're dealing with, you're going to pay. So she was telling me, so it doesn't matter what I pray for. When I pray to her, I get it. And so she was telling me how if she needs money, she'll pray to the Santa Muerte and money will come to her door. She says there was a man that she dated. It was just a fling kind of thing. He specifically told her, look, I live in Midland. I don't live here in San Antonio. I'm not interested in a relationship. That's not what I want. I just want to have fun. And that's it. And she agreed to that. But she says she fell in love with him. Deeply in love with this man. And so she prayed to the Santa Muerte. And after praying, he picked up from Midland and moved to San Antonio to be with her. So there's some weirdness to this. I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about this. It sounds creepy to me for sure. But she did say she has a good friend who has a son who has kind of these, I guess, abilities, right? So one day, this girlfriend of hers and her son, who's around 4 years old, was at her house. They were all in the living room, and this lady said, hey, I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. And that's where she does her praying. So she's got an altar, and she goes in there and and this is in her ensuite bathroom in her bedroom. So people don't go into this bathroom, right? They go into the other bathroom. But anyway, she's in there praying to the Santa Muerte. And when she comes out, she sees the little boy walking backwards, his hands up, as if he were being held at gunpoint or something. You know, he's walking backwards. He's scared. So she asks him, what's wrong? The little boy says, there's a dog on your bed, which is quite alarming to her because she doesn't own a dog. And she looks, and there's no dog in this bed. And she says, what do you mean? What do you see? What are you talking about? He says, there's a dog on your bed, but he's protecting the house. He says his name is Zozo, and that everything's okay. He's protecting the house. So this lady's like kind of freaked out about what he's talking about. There's nothing to be seen. The little boy's a little bit frightened, but he's starting to calm down because he's understanding whatever this thing is telling him. So she goes to look up what Zozo means in Mexican folklore, and it's searching for answers to what Zozo could be. And according to her, Zozo is a dog that guards the gates of hell. And this boy can see it. So she's rightfully freaked out by this. So she tells the little boy to come into her bathroom and look in there, and asks the little boy, what do you see in this bathroom? The boy goes in there and he looks, and then he kind of looks at a certain point in the bathroom, and he goes, oh, I see a lady in here. And she says she's also protecting the house. And so this woman that is my rideshare rider is freaked out. She says, I freaked out when he said that. He could see her. And then I asked him, what does she look like? And the little boy said, she looks like a zombie. It's a nice lady, but she looks like a zombie, which is basically describes the Santa Muerte. If you look it up, she is basically the Virgin Mary in a skeletal form with the whole robe that the Virgin Mary has. And it's just very strange that he would know all this. I looked up Zozo, and I didn't find anything having to do with the dog that guards the gates of hell. Zozo does look like a winged creature that has a dog face and horns. So wow. I mean, it's bizarre. It's not exactly the same exact thing, but that is very strange. I can't explain it. And that was her story. So today we're going to talk about triangles. We're going to talk about up in the Northeast, there are two triangles that people have disappeared on. Joe seems to know a lot about these, and I did a little research. It's interesting. There's this story in particular that someone disappears while traveling on a bus. So bizarre. So let's get started. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, all that stuff. Help a brother out. Trying to grow here, yo. Thank you so much. Let's go.
Where the weird ones go production.
What is going on? This is David from Down the Rabbit Hole, and you're listening to Dayvid Don't Know. I like triangles. I like pyramids and triangles. I especially loved growing up the Bermuda Triangle. That was a big one for me. I would read books about it as a kid. It was fascinating how you can just disappear. Well, I have someone today who's a good friend of mine who just crossed the 100,000 club on Instagram and who is the host of Tales, Trails, and Taverns, Mr. Joseph Gelinas. I'm going to bring him in, and we're going to talk a little bit about Bridgewater and the Bennington Triangles. So here we go. Welcome, Joe.
What's going on, David?
Not a lot, man. Thank you for joining me, man. This is we did this recently, didn't we? Just like a couple of months ago.
Yeah, a couple of months ago. Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. This is awesome.
My pleasure, sir. I am really interested in like I was saying, the big draw for me when I was a kid was the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, same with me. It was like, I thought it was going to be a bigger deal, a bigger issue in my life.
Yeah, really.
It
was
that
like
quicksand.
Wasn't it like 50 ships and 22 airplanes went missing in that space?
Something like that. There's been a lot, yeah. And then the whole with the malfunction of the equipment and everything. Every time a plane goes over, ships disappearing. Yeah,
very interesting stuff. Very interesting. I have a lot of theories, but I did a little research on what you were telling me, which was the Bennington Triangle. I did a little look see on that one.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of stories about that. And then there was the Bridgewater Triangle.
Yep, both of those are here in New England. One's in Vermont, one's in Massachusetts.
And you've been to those places?
Both of them, yeah.
Wow. So let me ask you, man, you went into the triangles.
Yeah, well, back in what year was it? Back in 2005 to 2007, I lived in New Bedford, and I lived on the bridge, not the Bridgewater, but the Dartmouth line, which is right near Bridgewater, which is right near Fall River. And I used to spend a lot of time in the Freetown State Forest. I didn't even know I was going there. I would go and ride my bike in that area, up and down, and I would drive up and down Copacut Road, which is in the Freetown State Forest. There's some ghost stories associated with that one too.
Yes.
And so I didn't even know I was going to someplace that was haunted or creepy, or with the amount of paranormal stuff that actually happens in the Bridgewater Triangle.
That's so funny because there's a lot of places that I grew up that I had no clue was haunted. Like a whole bunch of, I grew up in Corpus Christi, Texas, and there's a restaurant. It's like a pirate themed restaurant that I had been through several times. Then I saw a story on it, like a documentary on this thing, and it's crazy haunted, man. How did I miss that shit?
Right.
It's nuts. And all these other places, like I wasn't really like, I was into the paranormal, but I wasn't into the paranormal and I would go to the places in Virginia when I go and visit my stepson, or we were in like Louisiana, and I got to see the LaLaurie mansion, not really knowing what it was all about or understanding the haunted stuff behind it. Crazy stuff, man. And now it's like I'm really into it, and I can't believe I missed out on that shit. What the hell is wrong with me?
Yeah. So, which one are we going to talk about first? Bridgewater or Bennington?
So you were near Bridgewater, right?
I live near Bridgewater. Yeah.
Let's go there first because I find it fascinating.
And then my co-host Rob actually lives in Somerset, which he lives about 20 minutes from the Freetown State Forest, which is another big part of the Bridgewater Triangle. And so when we got I moved back to New England after I spent 10 years in North Carolina. And after I was back up here for a couple of years, he contacted me and he was like, "Hey, I go hiking a lot. You know, I noticed that you post a lot of pictures, hiking, going different places. Do you want to go hiking?" I was like, "Yeah, I want to go hiking in your neck of the woods. I see you go to Freetown all the time. I see you go to the Bridgewater Triangle. Like, let's go hiking there." And
Did you know Rob before?
What's that?
Did you know Rob before?
We served in the Marine Corps together. We served in Iraq.
Okay. Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, so I moved to North Carolina, kind of lost touch with a lot of it. Didn't spend as much time talking to him as I, used to. And when I got back, we reconnected, and he was like, "Yeah, I got a couple places to show you."
Cool.
And so we get out there to go hiking, and we're probably like not very far in on the first hike. We get like a half mile in, maybe something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to a spot, and he's like, "All right, we're here." And we start looking around, and there's like graves and stuff all through the woods.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, "This is the abandoned Fall River Pet Cemetery."
What?
I was like, "Shut the fuck up." I was like, "All right." And I see one grave like off to the side, and it looks like it's been emptied out,
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm like, "Oh, this one must have got out," making a pet cemetery joke, a Stephen King pet cemetery joke. And he goes, "Yeah, the reason they stopped using it in 1989 is because during the Satanic Panic and during that whole Satanist movement in the 70s and 80s that happened a lot in the Freetown State Forest, people were going out to the pet cemetery and they were digging up people's pets, cats and dogs and all kinds of other stuff, and using them in these rituals out in the forest."
That's fucked up.
In 1989, they had to stop using it because it was constantly desecrated. So as we're walking around, seeing all the graves out in the woods, 90% of them are look like they've been dug up.
Damn, dude.
I can't tell you how mad I am at people for doing shit like that. That
Hell
is
yeah, dude.
It's disrespectful as shit. But on the other hand, like, what kind of demon are you gonna summon with with a white cat named Fluffy that somebody loved dearly?
Yeah, it's fucking stupid if you ask me. I think it's, like you said, disrespectful. Ugh, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, part of me was like, "Wow, this is super interesting." Another part of me is like pissed off because people would actually do this shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I remember the Satanic Panic. Do you remember that stuff?
A little bit. I was close by. I was on the Cape. I didn't hear too much about it, but
I was going to middle school back when they called it. It was actually called junior high. So I went to a junior high, and we did have a kind of an incident happen there where this girl came from another school, and she was goth before goth. She was black, dressed and all this stuff. Yeah. And the kids were mean to her, whatever. And she would say out loud that she worships Satan and you better leave me alone. And then there was a moment, I remember this so vividly. I was in band. I was in band class. I played trumpet. I was a band nerd.
Nice. And
someone came into the band hall and was asking for Dr. Getz because he was the conductor. "You need to get out here, man. They're going crazy." So he ran out there, and so most of us followed out. The whole school it was like a frenzy. Everyone was screaming, running around, like something was going nuts, man. Apparently this girl had put a dead cat in some other girl's locker.
Oh shit.
And she was losing it, and everyone was freaking out. So it was like a something of a mass, kind of like everyone was just freaking out at the same time. It was so bizarre
Yeah.
to see. And the teachers were trying to, organize, get everyone situated. And that's like, I saw that with my own eyes. I was like, holy shit. And we didn't know it was called that until years later when they referred to the whole Satanist movement in the 80s, the Satanic Panic. But that's basically what was going on.
Yeah, so there was a bunch of stuff that happened in Bridgewater. There was a serial killer. I can't remember his name. He killed a bunch. I want to say like 3 or 4 women. There was some other murders, and then all kinds of people who are, say Satanists or witches and stuff. They still go out there now. They still go out there quite a bit.
I did remember hearing your show on the Pet Cemetery. Rob talking about it.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but he ran into some witches out there, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was telling me all about it on one of those hikes.
Crazy.
About these girls that he was taking out there because he showed it. They wanted to know where the Pet Cemetery was. They wanted to know where, the Ascendant Ledge was, stuff like that. All these different places that are out there where, I want to say it was Carl Drew. I don't quote me on it, but I think his name was Carl Drew, the guy who was the serial killer who was murdering people. So he's got there were shacks out there that he built out in the woods. They were his murder sheds. And the second time we went out there, we actually walked out and I got to see one of them, see what was left anyways. The foundation of this murder shed. Yeah, that was the second time I went out there hiking with him. So the first one, after we went to the Pet Cemetery, we still had more to see. So we keep hiking, we go another couple miles, and we stop at this place. And it's right where two trails, it's this intersection where 2 trails come together. There's this tree right in the middle of the intersection. Mm-hmm. And so we stop. He just stops, and I walk up to the tree. I put my hand on the tree because I'm the kind of person just touches trees. That's the kind of hiker I am. And so I put my hand on it, and he was like, "This is it." And I was like, "This is what?" He goes, "This is the tree where they found Mary Lou Arruda's body in 1978." Oh. And it was Mary Lou Arruda was a 15-year-old girl who disappeared in September of 1978, and it was found 1 or 2 months later, tied to the tree. Her head had fallen off the body because of decomposition, and then the guy had placed all of her stuff in a circle around her, sort of like to try to, make it look like it was part of the satanic rituals. Yeah, to kind of draw attention away from him. Fortunately, they found him pretty quick. Like people saw him driving around town. I can't remember his name either, but they'd seen him driving around town. There was a certain cigarette that he was smoking that was found there and where he snatched her up off their bicycle. And so he went to jail pretty quickly. I think it took a while to get him to get a conviction. May have taken up to 10 years to get a full conviction, but he spent the rest of his life in jail. Okay. So that was the second one. And what's interesting is, so while we were out there hiking, I decided I want to take a couple pictures of this tree, just take my phone out, snap a few pictures. And at the time, there was some app on TikTok. I was very new to TikTok at the time, but and there was some app that was there was somebody who was going around using this app, this Manga AI app, and they were saying that it could see ghosts. Like you would point it at or take pictures of stuff that was just nothing, and if there was a ghost in the room, the ghost would appear when the Manga AI changed the image. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
So it was one of those. And so if there was some TikToker who had who said there was a spirit in her house, and every time she took a picture, the spirit would be in a different place in the house, even though there was no person in the image,
Right.
And so I was like, okay, let's see if this happens. And I took the few pictures of the tree that I had, and I ran it through this Manga AI app, and every single time I did it, there was a woman that would appear at the bottom of the tree.
Oh shit!
Every single time I ran it through this AI app, and I was like, okay, well that's weird, but maybe it's just the way the AI app is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so maybe a month or so later, I was hiking in another spot, and I saw a tree that looked similar to it. You know what I mean? In the middle of the trail, just big tree, big trunk. Good size. Took a few pictures of that one. and went, all right, well, let's do a little test. And I took that tree, those pictures, ran it through the same app on TikTok, and it was like 80% of the time someone would appear in the picture. The rest of the time, nothing. There would be no person in the picture.
Weird, man.
So
That's
like
weird.
every single time I ran it through that app with Mary Lou Aruta's tree, a woman appeared in the picture.
Did it look like her?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah,
It
that's
was different every time, but it was such a weird coincidence that it just,
yeah.
you
Why
know,
would it be a woman at the tree where a woman
why
was
would it be a
murdered?
woman at the base of the tree? Yeah.
And so when did these disappearances or murders happen? When did they start happening? Like how old was the
I know the Mary Lou Aruta one was 78, and then there were the Carl Drew, I think, was in the 80s, was in the early to mid 80s. But there's been a bunch of others. I mean, hikers go missing there pretty often. It's a big chunk of land. I think it's something like Freetown State Forest is 6,000 or 7,000 acres, I want to say.
wow.
And then, you know, that's in the Bridgewater Triangle. There's also the Hockomock Swamp, which is another big, maybe 4,000, 5,000 acres, something like that. So big tracts of land out there.
I'm gonna pull up a picture of the triangle real quick.
Yep.
So we can and let me know where you were at, basically where you lived. Here we go. So here's the image. I see Bridgewater right here, and then there's what is that, West Bridgewater? Where were you at there, Joe?
So right in the down in the lower right hand corner there, that would say Freetown.
Uh-huh.
It's just below that is New Bedford.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's where I was living at the time.
Oh, rad.
And then right near Fall River, you see where Swansea is.
Uh-huh.
That's where Rob lives now.
No kidding.
So he
So it
lives
says
right
here
there.
that 200 square miles. That's interesting, man.
Yep.
Pretty big. Very cool.
Yeah, there's all kinds of activity in the Bridgewater Triangle. There's everything from Bigfoot, UFOs, all kinds of ghosts, all kinds of sightings.
So I know that there's been a huge, they say it's actually a larger number of UFO sightings in that area, like astronomically larger than anywhere else.
I want to say it was Ronald Reagan saw a UFO
Holy shit,
over
really?
Bridgewater in Air Force One.
What?
Yep. He was flying. They were flying Air Force One over the Bridgewater Triangle, and a UFO appeared, and he reported it.
No shit, that's crazy.
Rob has told me. Rob said that when he was a kid, him and his mother saw a UFO, big triangle UFO flying over him. And then he remembers it when he was a kid, and then he brought it up to her later on in his adult life, and she was like, "Yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, it happened."
Did he mention that in the show?
He might have.
I think I've heard that. Yeah, he had talked about mentioning to his mom because they had not talked about it. Like they
hadn't talked about it since he was a kid.
And then he brought it up like recently or whatever, and she's like, "Yeah, I remember that." I was like, "Wow, that's interesting." That's because sometimes when you're a kid, your memories are not, dependable.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. There's sometimes it's like, yeah, well, and then an adult will tell you, "No, that's not what happened. This is what actually happened." She was like, "No, yes, I saw that triangle. Yes, it was up there."
Yeah, she saw it, and then so after we went to the Mary Lee Road Tree, we kept going and we got to the Copacut Reservoir, which is the reservoir water for the Fall River area. And then there's Copacut Road, which I used to ride. I used to drive up there in my truck, and I used to ride a mountain bike, go mountain biking up in that area, up and down Copacut Road. And there's a story about a phantom truck that if you go there at night and you drive down Copacut Road, a truck will come up behind you, like speed up behind you with the lights on, and will drive behind you, honk, and get you to pull over. Essentially, will pass you and then disappear.
What the hell?
And this has been reported by a bunch of people. Yeah.
Are we talking 18-wheeler here? Or are we talking just a
No,
pickup?
like a pickup truck.
Really, dude?
Copacut Road is a very small dirt road, very not well maintained dirt road.
Oh shit!
That area, the Freetown State Forest, that area is it was the Wampanoag Reservation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a that whole area was Native American land back when, Massasoit met the Pilgrims, and then the colonists came in. That was all sacred land. It was the, I believe Hockomock means land of the spirits, or swamp of the spirits, and it was part of that place where they buried the dead or they didn't go in there. And so there's been all kinds of reports. I mean, there's been Bigfoot reports. There's been, if you name it, it's happened in Bridgewater Triangle.
Wow.
It's basically one of those. It's supposed to be the most haunted woods in America by far.
No shit. What's like the biggest ghost story there?
The biggest one?
Like the most popular one, like that truck thing. That's freaking amazing. I want to dive into
probably
that
the Pukwudgies.
Okay.
So the Pukwudgies are a little person, a Native American legend of a little person, and basically they used to be friends with the natives, or they used to be friends with the people, and then somebody somehow pissed them off, and so now they will lead people into the woods, and they'll disappear. They'll take people with them. There's a documentary about it, about a guy who I believe in like 86, 87, maybe 89, he saw a Pukwudgie. He was out walking his dog, and the dog got spooked, and he looked over, and it was a little hairy person over by the street light, standing underneath the street light.
Say, come on over.
Him, like telling him, come here, trying to get him to go with him, and he was like, fuck no, take off.
Like how tall are they? Like we're talking 3 feet or what?
Like
huh?
3 or 4 feet.
Really? Oh, dude. I've heard some stories about it, but I never really got in depth on what they were. But I did hear that it was like related to Native Americans at one point.
Yeah.
That is really cool. Is this the place? Because I know the other triangle, there was also Native Americans, but they refused to be on that part of the land. Was it Bridgewater or was it Bennington?
That was Bennington.
Okay. So in Bridgewater, the Indians were like, it's cool.
Yeah, that area was where a lot of King Philip's War was fought too.
Oh shit, okay.
And so that was one of the deadliest wars at the time. There was a large amount of the population that was killed during that war. Like there was so much fighting, and like not obviously not people wise, but percentage of the population wise, it was one of the deadliest. It was the deadliest war that's been fought in America.
And is that who was fighting in that war?
So that was the colonists, and it was King Philip, and Philip was the son of I'm gonna fuck this up. Shit.
Was he a Native American?
Off my head. But it was King Philip of the Wampanoags was fighting after his father Massasoit had passed away, and he decided that he didn't want to deal with the colonists anymore. He realized that the colonists were taking more land than they were allowing them to have,
right,
and basically burdening them with their laws. So he started getting them all together to fight back against them, and there was a whole lot of back and forth for a while, and then finally ended with him. Where the hell did he get caught? Oh, one of his tribesmen actually shot him in the back, I believe.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, he was also like drawn and quartered, right? And then
he was, yeah. I believe his head was put up over Plymouth Plantation.
Yeah.
For 20 years.
20 years. I saw that, dude. I was like, I've heard of Chief so-and-so and Chief whatever. I never heard of King. I found that really interesting that a Native American would call himself King.
Yeah, King Philip, and then he was killed, and then Anawan was the one who took over. Anawan was the second in command, and Anawan gave up, hoping that they would let him live. They did not. They promised he would live, and of course they killed him too. Also put his head on a pike. And they caught him at what's called Anawan's Rock now in Rehoboth.
Oh, okay. I heard about that.
I believe that's also in the Bridgewater Triangle. And so there's this very large rock on the side of Route 44 in Rehoboth. And rumor has it that if you go there, you can see sort of spirit fires in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And people have reported actually seeing Anawan at the rock, like being come face to face with an old Native American man.
Wow.
Who just disappears after trying to talk to him.
Have you been to the rock?
Oh yeah.
Oh, rad, man.
It's super cool. It has a really creepy feeling too, but it's so close to the road. It's really weird to be there, you know. Like it's just right off the side of 44. There's a small parking lot, holds like half a dozen cars, and you can walk right there. There's a little trail that goes right to it. It's massive too. It's probably 50, 75 feet across, about 20 feet tall at the middle.
Wow. I would love to see that. That's like one of my
swamp behind it.
That's one of my bucket list items, is to see an apparition, preferably one that's just a Memorex, not an intelligent wanting to haunt me. But that would be awesome to see that. Yeah. Wow. So a lot of people died in that war, and then the King Philip, he was killed.
Yep.
And from what I understand, like the guy, like you said, the second in command, also he gave up, but they kind of really ran the rest of those Indians out. They kind of really, right? The rest of it, they kept the slaves or whatever. But from what I understand, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, well, I think it was after King Philip's War. There was a whole thing with Uncas of the Mohegans. He basically like took over every other tribe in the area. He became the supreme chief of all these different tribes. He took them over and then basically conquered all the neighboring tribes and then sold all their land to the Connecticut colonies.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, there's a reason,
couple of blankets or something.
Yeah, there's a reason that Mohegan Sun is the biggest casino around here.
Oh, wow. That's crazy, man. And so what else happened in there in the Bridgewater?
So what else has happened? So, and then after that one, we went back in February, not this year, last year.
Mm-hmm.
And we took a hike out to the Assonet Ledge. And the Assonet Ledge is this big cliff that overlooks a quarry.
That's there? That's in the Bridgewater?
Yeah,
Triangle?
that's in Freetown State Forest, yeah.
Oh, snapola, dude. I remember listening to this story on your show, and I was enthralled with this one.
Yeah, because we while we were out, we recorded the podcast while we were hiking out there. So we were talking the whole time. We were talking about all different kinds of stories. And then at Acushnet Ledge there's a woman in white who apparently stands at the top of the ledge. And the legend is that it was a Wampanoag princess who was waiting for her husband to come back from war or something, and he never came back. So she went up to the top of the ledge and then jumped off.
Oh, shit.
And of course, you know, back when it's still the colonists and the natives, it wasn't a quarry. So it wasn't. Now it's full of water. Like now the cliff is up there and there's a huge quarry that's full of water down there. Back then it wasn't a quarry, so it was just a cliff and just flat ground at the bottom. So she jumped to her death, and now people claim to see the white woman, or the woman in white, standing on top of the cliff as they get up there. And then other people claim that when you get up to the top, even if you're a perfectly normal, completely stable person, you get an overwhelming feeling of dread and an urge to jump from the top of the cliff.
Damn.
Like people have gone up there with no intention whatsoever, gone up there with their families, and then leapt to their death off that cliff.
Dude, really?
Out of nowhere. Just the overwhelming urge to just jump.
I wonder if that's like a possession type thing.
Could be. That's
interesting. So, but there's water down there now, right?
There's water down there now, but you got to really, like, it's high up, and there are like lower rocks down. So if you jump from the very top, you're gonna hit rocks. Like you got to be lower down, and you got to be on one of the cliffs that actually. There are spots where people go and jump from, just to go jump for the quarry, but you have to be at those specific spots. You know what I mean? You get up to the very top, you're gonna land on a rock.
Damn. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, you guys did a live up there.
We did, yeah. We cracked
I
beer.
joined it. I remember joining it. Yeah.
Live on.
Yeah, dude.
It was awesome.
That story is nuts to me, man.
It was a beautiful view up there, man.
I wonder
so
if
that same day when we were hiking out there, that's when he showed me the one of Carl Drew's murder shacks. And there was also this big circle thing that was built. It was sort of like it was built by the Wampanoags, by the tribe, and it was something that was there to counteract the dark entities and the dark spirits in the area because of Carl Drew and the Satanist movement.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was this big, a big place where they do celebrations or hold chants or whatever, to try to bring in more good spirits, pure spirits, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And as we were walking out there, Rob's like, he's like, the thing about that right there is because you're not a Wampanoag, you are not a native. Like, do not enter that circle.
Oh shit.
It's not for white people. It's not for people who are not part of the tribe, Yeah. I was like, say less. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, really.
No problem.
I don't want to find out.
I got no problem staying out of there. Yep. Looks great from here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was the bridge that Rob walked on and took a piss off in that same area?
It was, yeah. There was
it
was another trail off the side. The Dock Mill Pond Trail was the one that little bridge goes over Dock Mill Pond. That
story, I think I was the first episode I listened to your show.
Yeah.
And that story freaked me out, especially because Rob, his daughter seems to be a gifted person. She seems to have abilities.
Oh yeah, she definitely does. Yeah. We, not last weekend, but the weekend before, we were at Fort Tabor in New Bedford, and she was there and she saw something. She saw something move.
Oh, wow.
She saw like a shadow figure or something on all fours, basically run away from where we were going.
Well,
but yeah, she's sensitive in that matter.
The story, if I recall, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the story was, I think it was a week before he went with his daughter. He was there by himself and he was up on the bridge or whatever and needed to take a leak.
So he took a leak off the bridge.
Right off the bridge,
Right off the bridge, right into the pond. Nobody's around.
Thought nothing of it.
Nobody to see. And then went back there a week later with his daughter. And after they passed the bridge, his daughter says, "Dad, there was something trying to get my attention." He was like, "What?" She was like, "There was something dark in the woods trying to get my attention." He's like, "Did it say anything?" She goes, "It said, tell him that if he ever pisses in this pond again, I'm gonna hurt him," or something like that. Like, he wouldn't tell his daughter that, "Oh, by the way, last week I was here. I peed off this bridge,"
Right, exactly. There's no way she could have known that. And but unless someone else was there, and apparently there was something else there.
Something was there.
That is crazy, man. And the way she described it was huge and scary.
Yeah. She said it was dark, and she said it was trying to tell her its name, but she wouldn't repeat it.
Right. Because that's a bad thing. If you say the name of, like,
yeah. If it's a demon and you say its name,
right.
That's how you summon it.
You don't want to do that.
Power.
Do not do that.
Yeah, don't
if
do
it's
that.
telling you its name, do not repeat the name. That was a great show, man. I was so freaked out by that one. Like, that night I was like looking around, like, oh shit, I don't want to see anything,
I know, right?
Crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
But the ability to be able to see things that others can't, I think that is so freaking amazing. And it's
I'm not sure if I'd be okay if I if I could do that.
No kidding, man. My last guest, episode 4, was JJ Rose 777. Have you ever heard of her?
No.
She's a gifted medium, a psychic,
Okay.
a white witch. There's a list. I could go on. She's a clairvoyant. She's got clear
Yeah.
audio. It's like a freaking crazy list. And I'm a skeptic by nature. I don't believe things straight up. Right. So I like until somebody proves it to me. And this woman proved it to me. I mean, she actually has the ability. And I recall I listened to her on a show called Let's Get Freaky with Tommy Cullum. I don't know if you ever heard his show, but it's a great paranormal show. She was on and she was talking about like spirits in the forest. She came across a spirit in the forest.
Yeah.
It's like a playful spirit and wouldn't leave her alone. And I thought, this is great. I just reached out to her and said, hey, I think you did a great job on Tommy's show. He's a friend of mine. And, you know, blah, blah, blah. She says, okay, well, do you want me to do a spot check? And I was like, yeah, sure. She says, okay, well, make sure that both your feet are on the ground. Don't go walking or driving. Just sit there and I'll be in a minute. And I thought,
Oh shit.
sure, lady, okay. Be there in a minute. I wasn't even home. I was in Virginia.
Yeah.
So I was like, she's not gonna find me. She don't know. And she's in LA, not LA. She's in California, north of LA. So I'm there with my, my stepson's house. Me and Angie are hanging out. I just forget about it. And a minute later, I start to feel this vibration. Like at first it was very low and then it started to grow. And I started thinking, what the hell is happening, dude? Something's wrong. You know, I thought I was having a heart attack and I was telling Angie, something's up. I don't know what's going on, but I can feel like my whole body is vibrating. And then about 5 minutes later, it starts to dissipate. And then I get a message from JJ saying, okay, I'm done. I was like, what the fuck? What do you mean you're done? She goes, oh, I checked in on you. She basically, what she said is she astro projected to my location.
Yeah.
And the reason I could feel the vibration is because she entered into my aura or whatever.
Yeah.
And she was looking around. And then she sent me a list of 5 things that she hit on every single one of them. I was just amazed. And I was like, there's no way I can refute this. She proved to me that she can do this ability. So that's Rob's awesome. Daughter, listening to the stories, she's got it, dude.
Yeah.
She's got it. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is, but she has it.
Yeah, when he goes places with her, he looks into the ghost stories and the legends and stuff like that, and he doesn't tell her about it, and she'll hit on it.
Damn.
She'll hit on a lot of it.
I think the 3 of you need a TV show, dude. I think that's what I would watch.
You're not the first person to say that.
I would watch that, because you see those kind of shows out there right now where it's like it's a group of guys and they bring in someone who has that talent. Yeah. They don't tell her anything about it. They don't even on some shows they're blindfolded as they're driven in or whatever. And then they get them out and they start hitting at it. Boom, boom. Yep, that's right. Boom, this, bam. And she's like that. I think she's like that. Yeah.
There's a really good podcast out of Texas that I listen to that does similar things. They do ghosts. They check places out. They listen to all the stories. They investigate it. And then they bring in a medium and they'll hit on a bunch of the same stuff. They'll corroborate the stories and whatnot.
Is it the Owl?
Yeah, the Night Owl podcast.
The Night Owl. Yes, I've heard you mention that before. That's cool. I really got to check that out. I really got to check it. They're like, what, 90 minutes north of me or something?
So, yeah, I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
Austin is real close to San Antonio. So, yeah, pretty close. I didn't go there often, so I should check them out, man. So, okay, we discussed Bridgewater. Was there anything else?
That's pretty much it. Well, there was one other. Rob tells me he tells me he's going to bring on this guy that I told him this story, or something happened to him when they were young. Something about what looked like their car died in the middle of the reservation, and when they got out in the dark, look around, there was something there like a purple phantom or something was standing in the middle of the road, and basically they ran out of the river. They left their car there.
Oh
They
shit.
ran out of gas and they just hoofed it to the nearest gas station. And they were just like, nope, fuck this, we're out of here.
Wow.
And he keeps talking about bringing them on to hear that story, but
that's cool, man.
that's the only other story I've got. Some big purple phantom thing was standing in the middle of the road. Scared
And it
the
was pretty dark. Was it dark out?
Yeah, I think it was I think it was like middle of the night, like 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
That's pretty crazy. I wonder
They
what
were
the eyes
young
were
out
like.
there just driving around smoking weed and ran out of gas in the middle of the Freetown State Forest. Some back road, you know.
And you said there was like a lot of Bigfoot sightings in that area too, right?
Bigfoot sightings, yeah.
Have you ever seen or heard anything or seen like prints or anything like that?
Nothing like
tree?
that. What's weird is what really stuck with me the first time I went out there with Rob. I was like, I know there's a lot of stuff that goes on in these woods. Like, I know these woods are weird. I was like, have you ever seen anything? He goes, here's the thing, man. He goes, anytime I'm out here walking, I feel like something's trying to get my attention. I just fucking ignore it. And I just keep walking. He goes, sometimes you be out there and you'll feel like something's there and you feel like something is trying to get you to look at it. He goes, just don't engage with it. Just so I'm out there walking around like, what's that? What was that? Like, I want to see something.
Bigfoot wouldn't want to get your attention. I wonder, do you think he has the same ability that his daughter has, you think, maybe, and is just suppressed?
I think she got it. His ex-wife is a little bit sensitive like that. Can see
really?
things. So I don't know if it comes from him. I think
because if he's trying to,
he definitely gets the heebie-jeebies sometimes. He gets that. He's like there's something off in this room. You know, we experienced that a lot when we went to SK Pierce, the haunted mansion. There was a lot of odd vibrations in that house. You know,
I wonder if, because Bigfoot, like the alien sighting in that area, it's a big deal. There's a lot of sightings of Bigfoot in that area. I've often wondered, people that disappear, they just are gone without a trace. If they, unfortunately, unlike Ron and ignoring it, actually run right into this dude.
Either get taken, either follow the Puckwudgies,
Yes,
or they find a place where the veil is thin and they find a portal or something,
and they're gone.
They're just gone because people disappear from there and you never find them again.
I just thought about this idea, like bears, especially let's say a mama bear has cubs.
Yep.
And you're in danger if you see a cub and it's close to you.
Yeah.
You better get that bear spray out because that mama bear is going to come for you. I wonder, because I've seen videos of big feet or of a Bigfoot with juveniles, like with younger, like kids, like they're kids. So I wonder if that's the kind of situation that some people might have wandered close to a child Bigfoot, and the mama Bigfoot went apeshit on that guy, and he's gone.
Could be.
I'm curious about that. Of course, the other story is alien abductions. There,
that's another one too, because there's definitely a lot of alien sightings there, a lot of UFO sightings in that area.
And there's a story that Eisenhower, back in the day, after the Roswell accident, where they recovered not only a ship but some bodies and maybe one that was alive, that a deal was struck, that they made a treaty, and the treaty was, you give us technology and you can experiment with Americans, but you can only take so much. You can't take too many. You can take 1,000 a year, right? 1,000 a year, and that's it. And you have to return them. That was another part of the deal. So you can experiment, but don't do any damage. Send them back. Everything's cool. And they agreed to give us technology. This is, of course, this is what I've heard. I can't verify any of this shit.
Right.
But they said that they were not going to outright give us technology to use. They were going to give us some stuff to look at, and maybe if we could figure out how it works, well, then you'll have that technology, right? And then you look at what happens with you go around 1950 to today, and the explosion of technological advances from then to here. If you go back, let's go back 50 years to like 1900 to 1950, didn't move at all. You know, it's a little bit. Now we have cars. That's it. But from 1950 to today, it's insane. You know, we're creating AI. We're creating androids. Did you see the android I put out today? On what the hell?
The creepy one with the flesh,
dude. What? That's muscle, dude.
We're going down a bad road with that one.
Oh, if that thing can it's over. I will not survive that one. But I mean, the other part of that treaty or contract, whatever you want to call it, they didn't hold their end of the bargain. They just kept taking people.
Yeah.
So apparently the story is they didn't just take 1,000 a year. They took more, and some did not come back. They kept them. And what can we do about it? Nothing. We can't.
I mean, seriously.
So I don't know. That could be a part of it. Another thing is serial killer, like you had mentioned, that serial killer that basically murdered about 4 or 5 people then? And then there's another one.
Yeah.
So what else do you think could have attributed to that?
So and that area, one of the theories that I heard was somebody was talking about how like the bloodshed from King Philip's War could have attributed the darkness and the evil that's there in the Bridgewater Triangle. But then somebody was saying like, well, what if the reason that the war happened in that place, what if that wasn't the reason for the darkness? What if the darkness was already there? And that's why people fought in that area.
Oh,
like, what if the evil and what if the darkness and what if the stuff that brings this stuff in is older than that? Because we're talking about a place that has 10,000 years of history. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what was there before we started writing down history? We don't know. We just know that this place was called, you know, the Forest of Spirits, or it was a place that was, you know, that was where they brought the dead. That was where they avoided some parts of it. You know, the natives already knew to stay out of there for the most part. So they only went there to hunt. They didn't live in that area. Like what I'm talking about, like the Hockomock Swamp area, especially.
Yeah.
So
like one of the stories I remember hearing was about King Philip cursing the land.
Yeah.
So that,
that's
and then
one too.
Yeah, so he had cursed, but like you say, going back to an earlier point, like 10,000 years ago, what the hell was here 10,000 years ago, do you think? You know, because who knows? Who knows?
Really, we don't know. There's stuff that looks like it could have been put by the colonists. There's stuff that's older than the colonies. There's stuff that's older than the natives that's been here.
I really wish we could actually get in a time machine and check it out.
I mean, seriously, I would.
Dude, I want to see. I want to know.
But
you lived around it, and you're safe.
Yeah.
And you actually go in there too. You go in there. I would not go in there.
Oh yeah, love it. I remember telling my my ex-wife at the time when we moved back from North Carolina, we were moving up here, and she's like, I don't want to find an old house. I don't want to live in an old house because I don't want it to be haunted. I was like, spoiler, it's New England. The whole thing is haunted.
That's hilarious.
It's all haunted. Forget it. Just if that's your reasoning, just don't go to New England. That's
so your house that you're in now. What's the story there? Any crazy stuff?
Not really any stories. It's a 1910. I mean, it's an old house.
Oh, 1910. Damn, son.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's an old stone foundation house. Yeah. It's an old Victorian era cottage.
Really?
You
have a basement?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Oh yeah. There's a stone basement down there.
What? We don't have basements over here. You can't build a basement in Texas.
Yeah. No.
So
you don't need them.
You don't like it?
I say you don't need them.
Oh, okay. I want one, but anyway.
Anyway, talking about forests that the natives don't go into, we can move on over to
Bennington
Triangle.
Yeah. Now this one I did see a little bit about. There was like disappearances from what 1940 to 1955 or
So
something.
yeah,
like
that the ones that made Bennington most famous were the disappearances between 1945 and 1950, and there was a killing before that too that started in 1943. So in 1943, Carl Herrick was on a hunting trip with his cousin Henry, 10 miles northeast of Glastonbury. So the Bennington Triangle is around the Glastonbury Wilderness, and Glastonbury Mountain is right in the middle of it.
Okay.
And so the two men got separated. Carl did not return. Henry would find Carl's remains 3 days later with bear prints in the area. But Carl didn't die from being mauled by a bear. Carl's body was crushed, and his broken ribs had punctured his lungs.
What the hell?
Yeah. And then
I don't see like a bear coming in and just bang and then taking off. I don't
crush him. Just absolutely, and then not eat him. You know what I mean? Like
that makes sense.
And leave him there. And then in 1945, an experienced hunter by name of Mitty Rivers was leading a hunting party through an area known as Hell Hollow. There's a lot of Hell Hollows in New England. Let me tell you, there's one 40 minutes from here that I hike in quite a bit. Hold on. So Mitty got separated from the group and never made it back to camp. And after an extensive search, the only thing recovered was a shell that matched the rifle Mitty was carrying.
Oh shit!
There was no way to know if it was actually from his gun, but it's pretty good evidence that he fired a shot.
If I recall this correctly, correct me if I'm wrong here, but he was ahead of the group, right?
I think so.
He was ahead of the group because he was, I don't know, he's a
hunter.
He
was leading the party, yeah.
And then is it Long Trail?
Long Trail is the one that runs through there, yeah.
So he was, according to what I was watching, he took a turn on, I think it was on or near Long Trail, and then when the group went to go, he was completely gone.
Gone. Yep.
Yeah. Vanished, gun vanished, just the shell casing was the only thing left.
That's it.
Interesting, man. What the hell?
Then, yep. And so December 1946, 18-year-old Paula Weldon headed out for a hike in Long Trail, again, towards the Glastonbury Wilderness. Hitchhiking and underdressed for the weather, after nightfall, she was seen by several hikers and a local man who dropped her off a mile and a half from the trail. She was wearing a bright red coat and was said to have disappeared on the trail roughly 100 yards in front of a couple on the trail. So same thing.
Oh, shit.
An extensive search was conducted, but nothing was ever found. They searched everywhere for this woman.
How the hell could she be gone?
She just, same thing that you were just talking about. She disappeared about 100 yards ahead of another couple on the trail that was just gone.
Yeah, and it was on the Long Trail again because they could see her. She took a right into like behind the brush or something. Yep. And from what they said is they tried to go and follow her in, and when they looked, nothing, completely gone.
Yep.
Could not find her. She was, and did she was there ever a body or anything?
Nothing. And so remember the red coat thing, though.
Okay.
And then the weirdest one I think is James Tedford in 1949, a World War II veteran who was returning to the veterans home in Bennington after visiting his family in St. Albans. He was traveling by bus along with 14 other passengers. When the bus arrived to the Bennington stop, James was no longer on board. His luggage was still in the overhead rack and his personal effects still in his seat. And the other passengers recall him being on the bus when it departed from the previous stop, not stopping in between, just disappeared from the bus.
How the hell did that happen?
That's like that movie Langoliers. You remember that one?
No, that sounds like a Stephen King one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, that one kind of messed me up a little bit because everyone said they saw him on the bus.
Everybody saw him get on the bus.
Yeah. And then
it didn't stop again until it got to Bennington.
And all his shit was by
all
his
stuff was there. Yeah. Everything.
Yeah. That doesn't make any sense, man. How does that happen? Like the first thing I thought is, did they all go in and kill this man and just say, "Oh, he disappeared"?
So that one wasn't even that wasn't in the woods. That wasn't on Long Trail. That wasn't in Glastonbury. That was just on I think Highway 9.
And that's but it was in the triangle, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
crazy, dude.
Because the Bennington Triangle starts, I think the lower left-hand corner is the town of Bennington, which is a very cool town, by the way.
I saw like some video on it. It looked very picturesque. Like there was a church that was beautiful, steeple, white, just amazing. Kind of reminds me of something out of Tim Burton.
Yep. And then
Beetlejuice movie.
The Bennington College, there's the Jennings Music Hall. And everybody from the college says that the Jennings Music Hall was the inspiration for A Haunting on Hill House.
Oh shit, really?
And so I think the author said it wasn't, but I don't know about the book itself, but if you watch the show, right, and you see the house that's in the show Haunting on Hill House, if you see a picture of the Jennings Music Hall, it's dead on. Like,
Really?
It looks exactly like it's like the one from the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that show. It was awesome.
It was good. And the Jennings Music Hall was definitely a house on a hill. You know what I mean? You get up there and you could just see, you're standing in the front yard of that house or the Jennings Music Hall, and you could just see the Glastonbury Wilderness off in the distance, Glastonbury Mountain, the Green Mountains, everything. It's fucking amazing.
I want to see if I can pull it up.
So I'll tell you the last one here. Columbus Day 1950. 8-year-old Paul Jeffson was with his mother when she went to do some of the work at the dump. And it was only supposed to take an hour, so she told Paul to stay in the truck until she was done. But when she returned to the truck, the boy was gone. Again, an extensive search was launched to find the missing person in a red coat, but nothing of young Paul was ever recovered.
Dude, I heard about this one as well. How old was the boy? He was like
8.
Okay, so she went to go feed the pigs, right?
This one, where I read it, she was working. She was doing some work at the dump or something. So they were at the dump, but she just told them to stay in the truck.
Right. But an hour, bro?
It is kind of, I mean, nowadays you would think that's fucking crazy. But I remember sitting in the car waiting for, my dad or my stepmother or something to run errands and shit. I'd be in the car for, maybe not an hour, but
was the window cracked?
Probably.
I heard a story on this, and the way it went was she went to go and feed the pigs.
Yeah.
She told him to stay put and she'll be back. And an hour later, he was missing. And then a lot of people thought, or at least one of the stories was, that she killed her son and fed him to the pigs. That's why they could never find him. Another story, this one, oh man, I'm remembering the research I did. It conveniently goes out of my brain when I'm a whole year older now, man. So apparently they tracked the boy scent. So from where he was originally, they tracked it all the way through the woods, and it ends up to they lose the scent at a road that was like the highway or some sort of road through there. That's where it stopped. So one of the theories was he wandered off and was abducted off the road.
Yeah.
And that's why they lost the scent. Which, I mean, that's who's to say, right? But I was thinking, what if this dude's still alive? This kid is still alive somewhere, and he doesn't even know about his previous life before he was raised by some other people. But wow, dude, that one's a crazy story. I there's so many possibilities. Another possibility was that he got attacked by a bear, just didn't make it. There was nothing left of him.
So there were some logging towns that are now ghost towns up in the Glastonbury Wilderness, up in the valley towards the mountain there. And so I was watching, when I was doing research for our episode on this, I was watching the show. There's a show on PBS called New England Legends, and it's with Jeff Belanger, and he does a podcast called New England Legends. It's kind of funny story. It's what got me into podcasting.
Oh,
but
nice.
So he has a TV show, and they showed an article from 1897, from October 17th, 1897, about the Glastonbury area. and it describes the encounter with a wild man. Somebody had an encounter with a wild person out in the woods. So the article said, a wild man of the mountains, 2 young Vermont hunters terribly scared. Pownell, Vermont, October 17th. Much excitement prevails among the sportsmen of the vicinity over the story that a wild man was seen on Friday last by 2 young men while hunting in the mountains south of Williamstown. The young men described the creature as being about 5 feet high, resembling a man in form and movement, but covered all over with bright red hair and having a long, straggling beard, and with very wild eyes.
Wow.
So that got me thinking of like, okay, so there's accounts, there's old accounts of some sort of creature, like maybe not a Bigfoot, but maybe something similar to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And something with bright red hair. And then you start going back and you see these people who are disappearing in the woods and they're wearing red coats. You know what I mean? Like,
ooh.
So it's like, are these people being, my thought was that maybe there's a creature that's living in the woods and maybe this creature is going after people because it looks like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe it's like a bull goes after red, or maybe it's like it's sensitive and it thinks they're making fun of him.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. That is crazy, dude.
There's also some older stuff. The Native Americans who lived in the area, they stayed away from Glastonbury Mountain.
Oh, wow.
So there's an old legend. The legend is that there is a rock on Glastonbury Mountain that moves at night.
Oh, shit.
And so it's a giant boulder or something, right? And it moves around. And if you happen to be walking on Glastonbury Mountain and you step on this rock, it will swallow you whole.
What the hell, dude?
So
what the hell?
People who disappear in Glastonbury Mountain, the natives would stay away from it. This was an area where they told the colonists not to go there.
What the fuck?
And they said that this rock, this creature, whatever it was, would just eat people. And it was never in the same place. And so when they had other Native Americans would go up there, they'd venture into the mountains, or they venture into the wilderness around this mountain, and they disappeared. They were like, well, fuck, rock ate them. They're like,
what? And that was like common knowledge.
He's gone.
Yeah, he's in the rock.
He's in the rock ate him.
Have you ever seen this rock up close?
I haven't been on Glastonbury Mountain looking for a rock.
No, dude, I want to see that thing. I wonder if it actually moves. If there's like, people can say, "Oh yeah, it was here," and then they record it, and the next thing you know, it's over here.
Right. We're gonna need a geological survey of every rock on Glastonbury Mountain. We're gonna go back and check every couple of days.
That's a great story, though. I can see that as like a freaking horror movie of some kind. Can you imagine being swallowed up by a freaking rock?
Imagine like you just walking with somebody, and I mean, it would also explain the people just turning the corner and then disappearing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They get eaten by the rock. Maybe the rock doesn't like the red wild man, and every time somebody wears a red coat,
can you smell what the rock is cooking?
The rock is like, nope, not dealing with you red wild men anymore. Oh, 8 gone.
Dude, that is wild. That is a wild story. Have you I heard about the Bennington monster. Have any stories about that?
That one you'd have to remind me of, because I know about the rock, I know about the wild man. I don't remember the Bennington monster.
So going back, I'm not sure how far back we're talking here, but it's pretty far back. And if I'm not mistaken, it was like a stagecoach. Yeah. So it was like a horse with a stagecoach, and there were a couple of guys on there traveling through when they came across a 7-foot hairy animal.
Shit.
That scared the living shit, screamed at them because they were kind of in an open area, and it approached the stagecoach, knocked it down on its side, and then ran into the wilderness. And they called it the Bennington monster.
Yeah.
But people were saying, much later, that it was a striking resemblance on the description to Bigfoot. And they just called it the monster at the time because it was so large and so strong.
Yeah.
They could have knocked a whole stagecoach over on its side. It was nuts. You ever heard of that one?
I've heard the term Bennington monster, but I haven't heard the stories.
That is crazy, man. I was like, I heard that, and then there was another monster that was a strange looking creature that had something like 2 or 3 faces and didn't look like a humanoid body. It looked like a blobbish kind of thing.
Yeah.
That a couple of people came across. And that was also called the monster, which that one looks more like a monster if you think about it.
That's cool.
But yeah, dude, there's so many freaking stories about this place. And the idea that Indians would not live in that particular area. They just would stay.
They wouldn't go there at all except to bury the dead, is what I wrote down.
So annoying, man. That's crazy, dude. I want to know. I want to see. I want to hear all that shit. What happened? How many Indians were lost? Was it 1 or 2 or 3 little Indians? I wonder, when they finally decided, hey, we can't be here. We gotta move away. It's too much, man. But again, with the whole thought, I have a picture of the. I hope this is it, because it sure does look like the house. Let me pull it up real quick. La-di-da. Here we go. Boom, son.
Yeah, that's the Jenny's Music Hall.
That does not look like a music hall, dude.
And now if you look up The Haunting on Hill House and you look at the house from that show.
Yeah. This one says right here, inspired Netflix Haunting of Hill House. Let's take a look at that. Bam. Damn, it does look like it, dude. Look at that. Very similar. Here's another shot of it. Look at that, dude. That's wow. All right. That's freaking interesting as hell. Get off my screen.
Yeah, very cool. And so the one that I missed, the same year, 1950, that the little kid disappeared. Frida Langer was on a family camping trip near the Somerset Reservoir in the Bennington Woods, and her and her cousin Hebert decided to go for a walk. In less than a mile in, she accidentally fell into a stream. Since they were so close to camp, she decided to go back and change quickly and resume the hike. But after waiting at the stream for her to return, Hebert decided to head back to camp, only to find that Frida had never made it back.
Oh, shit.
And it must have felt like a case of deja vu. Local authorities searched for several weeks without finding anything. But 7 months later, Frida's body would be found in a field near the Somerset Reservoir. Strangely, it was out in the open in a field that authorities had searched more than once. And by that time, the remains were too badly decomposed to determine what transpired.
Wow.
So her body was brought back to a place that they already looked for her.
That seems like, that seems intentional. That's like I feel like that would be a murder right there somehow. She was captured, abducted, probably. How long did it take before they, like, from her disappearance to when she was found?
7 months.
Damn. Ugh. I wonder how badly decomposed she was at that. I mean, it was pretty bad. They couldn't tell how she died.
Probably. It would have been weird if it was like not decomposed at all,
Yeah, that would have been weird, because then that would for sure be an abduction.
Right.
Kind of for a very long period of time. It's strange though. I mean, how if you search that place several times and then that's where she ends up? That's weird, man.
But I mean, and they said a body too, so it's not like an eaten body, you know what I mean? It's not like pieces of the body. It's not like an animal attack,
And I would assume that if
cougar or something be
right, if a body, let's say she died and you couldn't see it, if a body lay there for 7 months, clearly animals would get to it, right?
Right.
Don't you think? I mean, it would be destroyed. But she was not destroyed. It was decomposed.
Yeah.
Badly decomposed. And it wasn't touched from animals. That's crazy, man. What do you think happened? What's your explanation on that?
I've got nothing.
It's just hard to understand. It's hard to understand. Yeah. What if there is a portal of some kind and she got stuck in it and was gone for X amount of time and they just put her back out? I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out because I'm thinking murder. My number one thing is someone abducted her and killed her, and then she was placed back in a spot where
But she
they
was also
know.
like, it was like less than a mile between where she had hiked to and where the camp was too.
That's nuts, man.
It was a very relatively small area.
How can that
that she
happen?
disappeared in.
But what do you think about the kid? What do you have any thoughts on how he may have disappeared? Because he was completely.
I got no idea unless he, I mean, I don't know. My kid's 9. If I tell him to stay somewhere, he might move around a little bit, but he's not going to just disappear.
Yeah. I don't know, man. 8 years old. An hour. That's too long to leave a kid, I think. I don't know.
Nowadays, it definitely is. Back
Yeah,
then, it's probably a lot more common.
You can't get away with that. Yeah.
A lot more feral parenting back in 1950.
No helicopter.
No helicopter moms. You were on your own at that point. I mean,
Hell yeah.
I was old enough to work in the mines at 8.
That's true, huh?
Old enough to be a chimney sweep in England back in the 1700s.
So what do you think about all these disappearances? Have there been other disappearances since 55 or 50 or whatever it was?
Not anything that's like these ones,
I think there was like a.
There probably have been missing hikers. I mean, you got to think Long Trail in Vermont goes right through there. The Green Mountain Wilderness, Glastonbury Mountain is a huge area. There's a couple ghost towns in the valley under the mountain there.
Oh, sweet. I want to check that out.
I tried to get up there when I was there because I was up there for a ski trip in what the hell was the mountain's name? I can't remember. I was like an hour away on a ski trip, and I drove down there, and there's a road that goes up the valley on Glastonbury Mountain, but it's closed for the winter time.
Yeah.
And so we're there in February. We got right up to the gate, and it's all blocked off, big snow piles pushed in. You know
what I love is that when you're talking about stuff like this, I remember it from your show. I love that, dude. I remember that trip you were talking about in driving through there and the gate being closed. And like, damn, I could feel your pain, man.
Yeah, you got all the way down there, and we're looking around, and we find the road to Glastonbury and find the road to the ghost town, and it's blocked off.
That sucks.
Except to like snowmobile track, or if we wanted to hike up there, but I wasn't about to do that.
The one troubling story I think is his name was Mitty, right? But that was his name, the hunter. Yeah. The experienced hunter. He wasn't too old, but he was a little older. Right.
I want to say like 50s.
Right. So he was my age, basically. So I was like thinking to myself, this is a guy, he's experienced. He knows the area. He knows he's been there before, right? He knows he could survive on his own if he needed to.
He knows where the rock's supposed to be.
Right.
Neat.
It's strange to me that not only did he get up around, no one heard it.
Yeah.
In all the stories I've heard about that, everyone says that there was a shell left, but no one heard a shot, and no one said that they heard a shot. And there were people there.
They also couldn't say it was from his gun either.
That's true. Okay.
There was no way to tell, no way to do ballistics when you don't have the gun anymore.
That and yeah, exactly. And were they doing ballistics back then? Were they able to do that back then?
Pretty sure you could. Yeah.
In the 50s. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you can match up. You can match up the shell at least. Firing pin probably makes, not a very distinctive mark, but a specific, if there's anything distinctive about the firing pin, it could have left the same mark.
Yeah, that story with that guy is the one that really troubles me, because this is not a guy who he's very familiar with the area. He knows how to survive.
Yeah.
And he just completely vanished. And that's the hardest story. I think that's the hardest case to me because you can't add it together, dude. It doesn't make any sense. Like what?
It doesn't, no.
Then you start looking at all these possibilities, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot more UFO activity in that triangle than outside the triangles, from what I understand.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And then you have Bigfoot, you've got bears, but they never found his body. His body was never recovered. That I have the most trouble with. It's just nuts, man.
It's also a place where a lot of death happened. I mean, when I went to Bennington, one of the things that surprised me the most was I saw the thing that said the Bennington War Memorial, and I was like, okay, let's check that out. We get there, and it is a huge, huge tower, the War Memorial. I mean, absolutely massive. I was awestruck with how big this thing was. Cool. And we looked around. I didn't really know anything about it. There wasn't too much about the war, about the Battle of Bennington. But then when we got back to the house for the ski trip, it was Stratton Mountain, by the way, we went to. I remembered it while I was thinking about it. So Stratton Mountain, and another buddy that we served in the Marine Corps with, he lives in Vermont, so he came down the next day. And so me and him were just kicking around talking, and I mentioned that I went to Bennington, saw the War Memorial. He goes, oh, he starts talking about the Battle of Bennington, and he goes, yeah, you ever heard of it? He goes, what happened was back during the Revolutionary War, Vermont wanted nothing to do with the revolution, right? They wanted to stay out of it. So Vermont was, I think it was mostly French, right? That had Vermont. They were independent. They weren't part of the revolution. They weren't part of the war at first. And so the British were in Canada, and they came down into New York, and then they were running low on supplies. They had been eating and burning everything as they went, taking everything they could. And the men were running out of supplies. So they said, hey, take, 900, 1,000 men, go to Bennington, rob it, take everything, come back, bring all the stuff with you, bring all the supplies.
What the fuck?
So these 900 to 1,000 men go a few miles over to Bennington, and then they come back like a couple days later, and they're like, where are all the men? Where are all the supplies? And the general or the officer who had led the men into Bennington, he was like, they're coming. He was like, what do you mean? Where are the fucking supplies? Where are the men? What happened? They're like, no, you don't understand. They're coming. We gotta go.
Oh, shit.
Like, the people of Bennington they wrecked that army that showed up trying to steal their shit. They were like, nope, can't have our maple syrup. And that battle that happened actually kind of forced the French into the revolution on the side of the colonists, and it forced Vermont to get into it.
Wow.
And so that was like, at that point, the colonists in America was losing the revolution. Basically, we weren't doing very good. But after that, after the French got involved, the French backed the colonists, and Vermont got back into it. It started to turn the tide.
That's amazing, dude. I did not know that.
So, shit ton of people got killed in Bennington.
God damn, so many wars, man.
Trying to get some maple syrup, trying to get some beans, bullets, and band-aids for their men.
That's weird that Vermont didn't want to get involved, but then you push them.
I mean,
that's just it. Don't push us, man.
Like, just leave us alone. Just leave us with our beautiful woods, leave us with our weed that grows naturally all over the place, our maple syrup, and just don't fuck with us.
I mean, originally they were like,
okay, well, you all die. Stop.
Exactly. They're like, yeah, give us liberty or give us tea. That's fine. Is it tax? Oh, we'll pay the tax. No problem.
Yeah, whatever.
Come try to take our shit. Fuck that.
You're just going to come in here and take our shit, and nope.
That's crazy, man. They dispatched 900 men. And I'm sure Bennington at the time was not huge. It was not a huge,
Probably not, no.
God, that's crazy, dude.
Just some wild folk out there just living up in the mountains. Because it's a rough, even nowadays, man, that northern part of New England, it's not an easy place to live,
Yeah.
It
makes me want to go down a rabbit hole and find out who these people were, man. What kind of people were these that they could stop the British like that without, you're talking about people who are not military. They're farmers, right? Or they were ranchers or whatever. I
Yeah, it
don't know
was
what they were
mostly. I
doing.
don't think it was a. I don't think there was a standing army. I think it was just the people of Bennington. I mean, there was. I think there might have been a small. There was a like a militia or whatever, but
Uh-huh.
it
That's
wasn't a lot,
fascinating.
man. There's
That's
a. You find
fascinating.
that a lot. Like you don't realize it happened, but you find that a lot in the Civil War or the Revolutionary War where Britain tried to come in and take a town here or a town there, and they were just like, no, fuck you. We're gonna hold you off. Like stand your ground, boys. Fuck these
Damn,
guys.
man. God, it just makes me proud just to hear stories like that. I love it. I love it, man. Also, you know what else makes me proud, bro?
What's that?
100,000 followers.
It's
Dude,
crazy.
Tales, Trails, and
Crazy.
Taverns. Brother, listen, man. I'm so proud of you, dude. I'm so glad to know you because it's a small group of people who like cross. I feel like you and I are part of the 100K club, you know, because
Right.
it was a big deal when I crossed it. I was like, I can't believe it was a dream. Like I want to get to this number, and no doubt I work at it every single day. It's just but it's a passion. The paranormal and unexplained is a passion of mine, so it's fun for me every day to just. And I just thought I'm just going to do this for fun. For me, it's just what I enjoy, you know. I'm not
Same,
trying
man.
to get
Yeah.
followers, but then boom, son, and people just exploded. And
I
oh
mean, you
man,
just do what you like, man, and do it well, you know.
absolutely, bro. And you're doing well. Let me tell you.
I used to joke with my friends about being an influencer on Instagram. I had like 200 people who follow me. I was like, oh, I'm like an influencer, man. I got all these.
Well, you're an influencer
And
now,
I'm like,
sir.
fuck, here I am. Here it
Yeah,
is.
it's happening. It's happening, man. I just love it because there's not many of us. You know, we have a very good tight knit community of
Yeah.
paranormal people on Instagram of podcasters. We have a lot of podcasters we know that do all sorts of podcasts, and you know, well, they ain't over 100,000. Sorry,
No, man.
guys,
Hey,
love you.
when I first met you, when I first started talking to you, I was like 1,000, 1,100, and you were at 100. You were just broke 100,000, I think.
Yeah, it was not too long ago, it was like a year ago or something.
Pretty right around there.
And then
I
Instagram's
thought you were a big deal to me. I met you and started talking to you through there. I was like, why is this guy even talking to me? This guy's got so many.
here. I can see it, man.
You know?
I see it in you, sir. Dude, your stories are awesome. I love your stories. Man, I'm salivating. I love paranormal stories, and
Oh,
what
yeah,
I've been
so do I.
doing, I tell I do. There's a little pre to the show where I'll tell a story that I've heard from my rideshare riders. You know, they'll tell me like I ask everybody, dude. I don't even care anymore. I
Yeah.
used to be like, should I ask this person? Now I don't care. Have you seen a ghost? You know, and in this episode before I told the story about this lady who prayed. She believed in God. She believed in God, but she prayed to the Santa Muerte, which is Saint Death, basically. And she's depicted as the Virgin Mary, you know, the robe or what have you.
Yeah.
But it's the skeleton,
Huh.
and it's supposed to be a demonic kind of thing, right? And so this girl is telling me that I believe in Jesus Christ and I love God. Trust me, I pray to Him. But when I pray for things, I don't get it sometimes, and sometimes I'll get it, but it takes a while, you know, because you know God
Yeah.
works in mysterious ways. And she goes, but if I pray to the Santa Muerte, it's instantaneous.
Huh.
So she said I would pray for money, and money would come to my door. It would come. I prayed for a man that didn't love me. He told me he didn't want anything to do with me. He just wanted to be with me. And I prayed to the Santa Muerte to get him to love me. And he moved from Midland to San Antonio just to be with me after that.
Wow.
And so she kept saying all these things. And the best part of the story is one day she's praying in her altar, which is in her bathroom. She's got statues of this thing, right?
Yeah.
And she had a friend over who had a son, a 3-4-year-old son, and apparently he's gifted. And so she's coming out of her bathroom and she sees this boy walking backwards like this out of her bedroom. And she asks him, what's wrong? And he says, there's a dog on your bed. She doesn't own a dog.
Yeah.
And so she's like, what do you mean? She goes, looking, there's no dog here. She goes, he's on your bed, but it's okay. He's protecting the house. And his name is Zozo. Right. And so she was like, I was like, what is he talking about? None of this was making sense to me. So I go and I'm looking up what is Zozo? She's looking it up. Turns out Zozo is a dog that protects the gates of hell.
Huh.
How did this kid know? Did he know? But he's 3 or 4, man. It's craziness.
Right.
And then she thought, let me ask him to go into my bathroom and see what he can see, right? So he goes in there and he's looking and he goes, oh, there's a lady in here. Yeah. She's nice though. And she's protecting you too, like the dog. They're protecting you. That's what she's saying. I'm here to protect this house. And then she asked, well, what does she look like? And he said, she is a nice lady, but she looks like a zombie. He just basically perfectly described this thing. Yeah. It's like, wow, dude. Okay. That's nuts. That's a great story. So I'm fortunate to get stories like this every once in a while. And I'm going to start reaching out more on Instagram to see if I can get people to send me some stories. Cause I would love to. Yeah. Because sometimes, like today, bro, I was asking all sorts of people today. Nobody had shit. It was dry. No one was like, nope, never experienced anything. Nope. I don't have anything like that. And then they're quiet.
Yeah, usually everybody does. Now that I've been doing this for a while, doing the podcast, and people just start coming, like friends, people that I have known for a long time, I've never heard any ghost stories from, I've never heard anything from. They'd be like, oh, let me tell you something.
I love that, man. I eat it up. Do you get a lot of, because I get a lot of people who are trying to reach me, but if you're not following them, there's another thing I wanted to ask you. Have you noticed, or do you follow everyone that follows you?
Oh, I can't keep up.
You can't, right? It's so hard to keep up. So I stopped doing that. I just stopped. I'll look through, and every once in a while, someone that I either know or someone that I would like to follow back, I follow him back. Like Jeff Garland just started following me, which I could not believe it, man. Jeff Garland, the comedian who was on Curb Your Enthusiasm, who played his manager or whatever.
Okay.
That guy is a big deal. I think he's hilarious. He's following me, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. Rosie O'Donnell's following me. O'Donnell.
That's crazy.
What? That's and awesome. There's this other actor.
You know what I noticed today?
Talk to me.
I've gotten a lot of Bollywood actors and actresses that have started following me.
Yeah.
Like, people, actors and actresses from India, and like big names too, like as far as like, Indian movies go.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it's coming from or why it happens, but there's enough where I've noticed it. I'm like, holy shit, these people are legit. They're actors. They've got big movies. They've got millions of followers, and that's
freaking awesome, man. I know India is really big into the paranormal. I have a lot of Indian followers.
No kidding.
They're huge. They love this stuff. And I don't know if you ever seen any of their videos from India, like ghost videos.
No.
They're pretty terrifying. They're pretty good. I really I think
maybe I've shared some. Maybe that's why I started getting on there.
It's crazy though, right? Because at first, back when I was 3,000 followers, I thought that was a big deal. I could follow everybody. It got to a point where it was so many that you cannot, it would take all day to just click follow all day long, because there's so many of them coming through. And it's great. I think it's what the heck was that? I think it's really neat. I do try to follow some, but I can't. I just cannot.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've been doing is I've got like a link and like a copy and paste thing that basically says, hey, thanks for following. If you'd like to check out the podcast, this is the link to the podcast and everything. And I'll send that out to a certain number of people, like every new followers, like every day or so. And if I do it to 10, 15 people 2 or 3 times a week, like it's whatever, I just sit down and just do it. It takes 10 minutes or whatever. Yeah. And sometimes people will react to it. Sometimes people will actually message me back, and like, because it's me, I'm not a bot or anything. I'm literally sending these specific people this stuff. So I'll hit them back like, hey, thanks a lot. Or, I'll just respond to like, I had one kid who was like, whoa, is this really you? Like, yeah, man, it's me. Like, yo, you're famous. You got a bunch of followers. Like, no, man, just a guy who likes to tell ghost stories, bro. Like,
Exactly, man. That's
So,
exactly.
typically what I do is like I'll send these out to so many people every day or every other day, and if they react or if they say something back to me, if they respond, I'll follow them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I send you a message, you respond to me, I'm following you. You know?
Yeah. I think that's cool. That's like,
if I happen to notice if you're liking a lot of my stuff, I'll jump on there, follow you. You know?
I try to do that too. When I notice that there are people, like, usually when I first upload something, you get those first trickle of followers.
Yeah.
I'll check to see if they're following. And then, if I'm like, oh, well, I'll follow back. These guys, they're the first ones to see. Or there's one person who's always like, there's a few of our friends who are just awesome, man. They just keep liking everything and commenting and, those type of people I try to follow too. But you were a big deal now, sir. 100K. You're probably at 101 now, ain't you?
I don't know. I don't think it's at 101, but it's up there, man.
That's awesome. Well, I didn't predict exactly the number or the hours that it would be. I was close,
No,
right?
You were the closest, man. You said 25 hours. It was 61. Everybody else was like either later that day or weeks or months later. Like,
I saw one say 5 years. I was like, 5 years.
Yeah, somebody said 5 years.
I was like, what the hell? That's not
even. No, it took me 5 years to get here.
Really, man?
It took me like 4 years to break 1,000 followers, but
took me a year to get to 10. I was targeting 10 so hard, because they said that's when you get monetized.
Yeah, I hit 50,000 in January, so I mean it goes up fast. The more people you have, it goes up faster.
For sure, man.
A lot of it had to do with seeing your page and seeing the way you put stuff out, and the consistency. I think the biggest thing was the consistency. I learned from you and from Scott. It was like every day.
Yeah.
Put something out there every day. Be consistent. Do the work. And the followers come, man.
Yeah, I mean that's
basically. You're gonna be on social
media
media anyways. You may as well be producing content. That's
exactly. It's funny because I've given out that advice a lot because people will ask me, "Hey, how do you do it? What do you do?" And I just tell them, every day, work, find, look, put something out, put yourself in it. Sometimes do this, do that.
I mean, they're not all bangers. They're not all winners.
No,
but the ones that do hit, man, they're the ones that skyrocket.
There's a couple of videos I remember. Man, it's going to be 2 years now. There was a video, and I remember the guy's name. It was Win McPix. Have you heard of that guy?
Not off the top of my head. I'll bet you.
So, you've seen his videos. I'm sure you've seen his videos. I've shared his videos a lot.
Yeah.
But I shared one video 2 years ago, around in August, or just before August, end of July. And it was such a hit. I got over 10,000, like from, I don't even know where I was at. It was at 3,000, and then suddenly 5, 7, 10, and I got over that hump, and it was that dude. And I reached out to him, was like, "Oh man, you're awesome." Yeah. And it's crazy, man. Yeah, just like you said, not everything's going to be a winner. It's true. I don't even know. I mean, I'm getting a better idea now of what's going to do well and what's not. But there was a time where I had no clue what I put out there. People would hate me. Do you get a lot of complaints? There complainers that are like, "This is fake. I don't like this."
Oh, probably. I just like them. I just like the comments. I don't care what they say.
You're awesome, bro. That's great.
Doesn't matter if you're commenting negative stuff on my post or whatever. It doesn't matter. You're commenting.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's what we want. We want that.
Doesn't matter what you say.
Dude, I had a guy the other day tell me, this is hilarious to me. The other day, this guy says, I can't even remember what I can't remember the name, but he was like, "Yeah, the truth. What did he call it? The truth community. Blah blah blah. This and that, or whatever." And some guy was like, "What are you talking about? The truth community? This guy's telling you." Because in my descriptions, I'll say if I don't believe it or I believe it or not, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll say, "No, this is hilarious." Well, the guy said, "Down the rabbit hole, he's the truth community, and he has betrayed." Blah. I was like, "What?" When was I ever part of a truth community, bro?
Yep, that's just a like the comment.
Right.
Fucking move on.
I love that. That's a brilliant thing, man. That's a brilliant idea. Because I used to get offended.
It's gotten to the point where I can't even keep up with liking all the comments. I used to like all the comments. I used to like all the shares. Every time somebody shares, now I jump on there and it's like I can't. It's too much. It's too much work, man. I can't even keep up with it. I try to keep up with it.
It's nuts, man. It's like it has to be a full-time job in itself, right?
It can be. Yeah, it's definitely a part-time.
Dude, let me tell you, because we're monetized. Joe and I are monetized, and every 2 weeks, it's like an every 2 week bonus. Basically, it's called a bonus, the bonus program, and they pay up to $15,000 every 2 weeks, $30,000 a month. So I know you're trying to do it, Joe. I'm trying to figure it out.
I'm not there. I'm not at 30,000.
Me neither.
Definitely not.
Me neither, man. Me neither. Especially
I'm getting a little bit of scratch now, and it feels good.
From posts, because they used to do it on Reels. Dude, I was killing on
Reels. Did it on Reels, dude. If I had gotten it, I had so many watches and views on Reels. If I had gotten into it back when they were doing on Reels, I'd retire already. You know what I mean? I would have been hitting 30,000.
Dude, you had a video that was like 16 million views. The one with
I've had several that have hit almost 25 million views.
Damn, dude, I have not gotten anywhere near that. I'm like, the most I've ever hit was 5.8 million.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the highest I've ever hit.
I haven't hit 25 million on a reel, but I've gotten 24 point something twice.
Can you imagine what that pays?
I wish I knew. I wish I could tell you.
I got like the most I've ever got out of a 2 week from Instagram, and maybe I shouldn't say anything, but I had the 5.8 million view in 2 weeks. It did like 1,300.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks. Me and Angie were shocked because I was telling her, look at this is crazy. Just this one video that blew up, and it was like, wow. And then they went to posts. I'm like, God,
it's harder to get the post to really bump, you know what I mean?
I've noticed though, you've done a really good job because you've had some posts that are going over 1,000 likes and like
I have. Yeah, I had a big one. I had a big one not too long ago that was like over 1.5 million likes.
Damn, dude.
That was a good one. That was a post. I think that it's definitely the music helps with posts.
Right.
Definitely the music helps. I don't know if like the multiple the carousels, I don't see any difference in that, but if it's a good post, if it's a good meme or whatever, you know, it does pretty good.
You've been doing great, man. I think you're going to catch up to me before we get to 200. I think we'll cross the 200 probably together.
The race is on, brother. Let's do this.
Yeah, man. Oh, I've been trying to do those carousels. Like I noticed, like one of the things I've been noticing is the guys who they're really, really like 2 million followers or whatever, 5 million followers. They'll do a picture of what they're about to show in the video. And it's really done well. Like the picture, it draws you in, and then you move over and it's the video. And then there's another video, or sometimes there's other pictures. I've been trying to go that route to see how it works. It's not bad. It's not bad. I think I need it.
Instagram hit me with a new app to help do reels and stuff. What is it? The Edits app? I don't know.
Yeah. I saw that.
I haven't tried it yet. I'm gonna.
That's a good one to
try that out. But listen, you know what we should do? I'll race you to 250,000, and if you get there before I do, I'll fly out to Texas and we'll hang out.
Oh shit! Okay, dude, for sure.
We'll go find some haunted bar or something.
Dude, there's a downtown hotel here called the Emily Morgan Hotel. Look it up.
Emily Morgan. Okay.
The Emily Morgan. It's downtown. It used to be a hospital, but now it's like a hotel. I picked up people who have mentioned that place, and they say it's probably the most haunted hotel, not only in the state, but in the country. They say that there's a guy I picked up. He was a bartender. He says he will not step foot into that place. Nice. It's so terrifying. I would love to investigate that one.
I'll do it. You beat me to 250,000. I'll fly out there and we'll go check it out.
That sounds like fun, bro. Yeah, Instagram 250,000. All right, I'm at 163 right now. So catch up.
I'm at 100, so the race
Catch
is
up.
on, brother.
What's funny is because I have Facebook tied in and I have Threads tied in. Threads is like at almost 20,000 followers.
No shit.
Yeah. And I have it tied, like whenever I share anything on Instagram, it goes both to Facebook and to Threads. But sometimes if you put too many characters, Threads won't do it. But whatever. I Facebook's at 67,000.
Yeah, I gotta start working on the Facebook. I actually had to change mine because I had like a separate page for Tales, Trails, and Taverns on Facebook, and it wasn't going to that. It was going to my personal one. So I ended up making my personal one a business one and just getting rid of the other one.
Okay.
And that one's been blowing up. I mean, it's at like 2,500 or something like that. It's not huge, but it is getting, all my reels go there anyways. All my reels go there. All my posts go there from Instagram. And it's like, at this point, I don't use social media really for anything other than just this, you know?
Yeah. Yep. I love it, man. So you have it set to whenever you post Instagram, it automatically goes over there?
Yeah, it goes to the same thing. It goes to my Facebook, goes to Threads.
Nice.
And I gotta take everything and then put it on TikTok if I remember to do that, and X and all the other.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to work on now, is trying to do more on YouTube.
Yeah, I'd like to do more on YouTube. That's the next things. If I can, I gotta get like a good video editor, and then
right.
I think what I'm gonna start doing is taking the podcast and taking videos from when we go to the places and just putting the podcast, the audio, on like when we walk around place, because we don't investigate. We just walk around. I videotape everything when we go to like asylums or places like that. And so we get a lot of video of just walking around places that are, you know, haunted or have creepy places, creepy legends and whatnot. And if I just put the audio talking about it over the video of us walking around there, I think that'd be
that would work.
Pretty decent on
YouTube. This is going to be on YouTube. I'm going to put the show also on YouTube.
Awesome.
Hoping that'll draw, because I think right now all I have on YouTube followers wise is 144. 144 followers. Very humbling. I love that.
I don't think I have even that many on YouTube, or
I think if you do that,
followers on X.
How many?
Like 16.
I have 35 followers, but it's been 35 for like a year or something like that. I've never.
No, it was for a while. It was 4, and then it dropped down to like 2. What the hell's happening?
Isn't that hilarious, man? Compared to our other one, it's kind of.
I know, it's crazy. It doesn't really carry over, you know.
All right, bro. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, bro. I'm so glad we met. I think you're awesome. I really love your I really dig your style, how you deliver your stories. Your voice is like perfect for the delivery, man. It's great. And
Nice,
I think Rob does an excellent job too. He has some great, I have to admit, he has some great stories, bro.
He does. When he goes to places, he has some wild stories about it.
And his accent, bro.
He's super. He's such a Fall River guy.
Yeah, man. I love it.
Guy. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, man. It's been awesome being on here.
Oh, dude. I love it. Can you let me know?
It's a blast every time.
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna have to have you back. I'm thinking about doing a show where we talk about the Mandela effect. And I was thinking about not just having one person, but having several people, and we can all take a certain section of the Mandela effect. For example, multiple realities and how that may tie into it, and have another person talk about like the Hadron Collider, and if that's a possibility why we're seeing this Mandela effect, you know, and then have another person talk about maybe that they're gaslighting us, and this is all just, they're just lying to us, basically.
Just messing with us.
Yeah.
Hey,
bro. Yeah. Can you let me know and let the people out there know where they can find you and reach you?
Okay, so yeah, you can find us. We're on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts. We're on Instagram, X. It's all Tales, Trails, and Taverns. You can also find the blog at talestrailsandtaverns.com. From there, you can find every link of everything that we do, all of our merch shops. And yeah, and then if I have my logo on the back of the Jeep. If you're in New England, you see me, I'll probably be out on the trail somewhere. I hang out in Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts. So you could see us out there. And also, I don't know when you're putting this one out, but we're going to be at the Pennhurst Paracon May 17th and 18th this year at the Pennhurst Asylum in Spring City, Pennsylvania. So that's going to be a great one. That's going to be a lot of fun. We went last year. It was an absolute blast. We're getting back out there again this year and checking it out. We're also going to check out Gettysburg before we go there. So, May 16th, we're going to be driving out and hanging around Gettysburg. So,
dude, I hope you catch something, bro. I hope you catch something on video.
So we got to do a little bit of investigation into what we got to check out when we get there, because I can't wait. Last year, before we went to Pennhurst, we went to Centralia, Pennsylvania to see the Silent Hill, the ghost town. It was absolutely awesome.
Very cool. Yeah, dude. Well, thank you so much, Joe. Hey, listen, if you guys actually see his Jeep out there, take a picture of it and post it and tag him. So you can... All right. Awesome. Thanks, bro. All right, guys, this is it. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. Thanks again, Joe Gelinas, my good buddy. I will see you at 250,000, sir. I'll be there first. Thanks, bro.
Thanks, man.
All right, man. That's the show. Thank you so much to Joe for being a guest. Really appreciate that. Check out Tales, Trails, and Taverns. His podcast is amazing. And also, if you like Facebook, you like Instagram, he's also on there with the same name. Look him up. He shares some great stuff, man. Joe's pretty funny guy. He will share some funny stuff. He will share some creepy stuff. I like both. So I just wanted to say a few things. One thing was for sure, I keep getting these, what I take as hilarious comments from, I would assume are trolls. I don't know. Trolls are needed in the world. They make me laugh. I love them. But one of these guys was saying that I have lost all credibility. Cool. Yeah. Here's my question to that. When did I ever have any credibility? Am I massively, do I have a huge amount of credibility? Wow. I didn't know this. Just a regular guy, folks. Just a regular dude that loves the paranormal and the unexplained. That's it. Funny thing about that is he didn't read my comment of the alien I posted at the doorbell, which breaks down to, I don't think it is an alien. I don't think it's a gray. To me, it could be a mask. The one clue about that is there is no video. It should be a video, right? Not just a picture. And if you see the picture, the lighting looks right. Like there's lighting on one side of this giant, enormous head, and not like there's shadows on it. So it's like you can tell this looks like something that's real out there, but it could easily be a mask. And I say as much in the description. Read the description, folks, before you comment. Because really, you just look like a moron if you're saying something, especially when you're saying, I don't have any credibility. Bro, I don't have any credit. I never did. Never. All right. I would love to build some. Yeah. And what I've said all along is I'm going to post whatever I want to post. So, you can say, dude, stop posting this. I'm not going to listen to you. Go ahead and say it. I love it, man. I love all the comments. Bring it on, man. The more comments, the better. But I'm going to post what I want because I do what I want. It's very simple. There's nothing complex about it. I do want to thank all my followers. We're 176,000 on Instagram, 70,000 on Facebook, 20,000 on Threads. I can go on and on. I feel very fortunate for all the people who are following, who are interested, who like this stuff like I do. Those are the people I want on the page. Those are the people I want to listen to the podcast. And if you don't like it, don't. It's fine. That's okay. You don't have to if you don't want to. But boy, are we going to have fun without you. All right, guys. Thank you so much. The next episode, episode 6, is going to be coming out in 2 weeks. So look out for that one, and happy hunting out there.